We're going to be talking about Milwaukee, Wisconsin Tabak Law Firm which successfully represents veterans across the USA who are denied their benefits claims. And I've heard some really wonderful stories, and this is really a firm that you need to look at if you are concerned about your benefits claims. Our panelist is Monica Irelan Karas. She is the Veterans Benefits Attorney with Tabak Law Firm, based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with offices located across the United States. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Monica. Tell us a little bit about Tabak Law Firm and why it's so important for veterans to really keep pressing for their benefits.
Absolutely. We represent veterans nationwide in their veterans claims, whether they are dealing with the VA, with the Board of Veterans Appeals, or some of the federal courts. We do all of that work. We represent thousands of veterans throughout the entire country, and even some that aren't in the country. This is my passion. This is something that I love to do. I love my clients, and I think most of my clients like me very much. We have been very successful for our clients. I personally have had some great outcomes. I had a great outcome this week. And what I really want people to know is that we fight. We really fight for our veterans. And whether it takes you 6 months or 10 years, we stick it out for the good long haul. And we know what it takes to win these cases, whether it's getting expert opinions from doctors or other people, or showing the veterans how to support their claims through buddy statements and statements from, people that are in their families or people they served with. We can point you in the right direction. It can be very confusing and very bureaucratic. I think I shared with you, Dr. Arnold, that I have my own father's stuff that I'm dealing with through the VA, and even as an attorney, it throws me. So
daunting.
It's a daunting task because there's so much to do. So my heart goes out to everybody, and I've somewhat been there myself with my own family members. But I can say I haven't lost a hearing in a real long time, and I'm real proud of that.
Expert attorney. That's why I've been hearing those good stories coming out of your firm. And also, you represent, it says attorney, you represent people and clients before the decision review officers, right? The Board of Veterans Appeals and the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. So they actually have an ally, going into those situations in your law firm, right?
Yes, and one of the things that I see very often as far as decision review officers and those types of things is when a veteran finally does win their claim and they're so excited and happy to have finally won, when you have someone like me going through your decision, I oftentimes find that effective dates are wrong, and I can handle that through the decision review officers and through higher level reviews because you've been fighting for so long. You're so happy that they finally acknowledged this. And then I look at the claim and I say, that's great, but we need to get your effective date correct. So there's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that goes into that about whether, your situation or whatever disease or disorder you have, the VA likes to hang up on things like you haven't been treating. Well, that's not the legal standard. The legal standard is whether you, in fact, have the condition. So it's not diagnosis. It's whether you have the condition. So that's one of the things that someone like me, when you partner with me, I know those things and I can help you with, and I can say, whoa, they're pointing you in the right direction or the wrong direction, excuse me.
Oh, that's right. And, I'm so glad you're saying that because it's really interesting. We many of us have to sit down, and this is coming up to tax season again, and we don't try to do taxes ourselves many times. We sort of go to a tax consultant if we want to survive the tax ordeal. And so going into a veteran's benefits claim without being prepared and not knowing all the, the ins and outs like you would in a law firm can put someone at an extreme disadvantage. As you were mentioning, it can be daunting for even someone who's skilled in reviewing these cases. So it's really critical that people reach out for the right kind of help. And so when someone does reach out to you, what should they be prepared to do? Should they be getting the paperwork together, or how should they approach the firm with their case, making sure that they have what you need?
Well, first of all, let me say that's a great analogy. I never thought of it like that, but that is very, very true, the way you just said that. If you're calling into my firm and you're just wanting us to jump into your claim and help you out because you're a little overwhelmed, I obviously need the very basic information. I need your Social Security number. I need your branch. I need the dates that you served. I need the type of discharge that you had. And then I need to know what conditions you are claiming that are service-connected. So remember that it has to be a service-connected condition. It's not just that you served and now 30 years later you have a bad knee and you served at one time. It has to be service-connected. So I want to know, one of the things that I have found very interesting, and actually it's a story I want to tell you guys about because it's a great win that I had. But you sit down with people and they're like, oh, yeah, I was in a car accident in service. And you're like, well, that's really important to know. And they're like, well, I never really thought about it. And you're like, well, that's considered service-connected. If that happened to you in service and you maybe slipped a disc or broke your knee and you have residuals now. And actually, if you don't mind, I want to tell you about one gentleman because he's one of my favorite clients.
Yes.
So his name is William, and he is down in Florida. And he has been fighting his claim. I had to write it down. June 2012 is when he initiated this claim. And he retained me in January of 2019. And we had a hearing on, August 2nd, 2019. So to give you guys kind of an idea of how daunting this can be, he filed June 18th, 2012. February 2013, he was denied. March 2013, he disagreed. February 2014, he was denied. June 2016, he was also denied more issues. And then August of 2016, we get what's known as a statement of the case, where they tell you what's going on and why they're denying you or whatnot.
Yes.
So in September of 2016, he disagreed with that. October 2016, think about that. It was certified to the board for a hearing. In February 2019, 3 years later, they sent him a letter and they told him it was docketed. That means he's got a place on the docket and he will get a hearing date. That took 3 years just from the last transaction here.
Wow.
So then we got a hearing in August 2019, and then just a couple days ago, a year and a half later, we got a decision for him. For William, I got 11 conditions service-connected that they were denying, and his back pay amount was $103,368.
Wow.
So when our listeners are discouraged and they want to stop and they just, they can't do it anymore, $103,000 because this gentleman stuck it out and he kept going and going and going. And the VA had to give him back pay back to 2012.
That's life-changing.
Please, amazing, right? And he's such a great, deserving man. I'll have to have him on with me. I just love him to death. But let's talk about some of the issues he got service-connected because it's interesting. So he's got a back issue and he's got some arthritis. But we have lower sciatic nerve radiculopathy on the right and on the left. Those are two separate ratings. And then we also have femoral radiculopathy on both sides. Two more ratings. So those are 4 separate ratings.
Wow.
So just because your knee hurts or your hip hurts or your ankle hurts, they can be separate ratings that can really cash out for you. So I just really want to, kind of beat it into everybody's head that you got to keep at it because you'll get it.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing because many times too people feel hopeless or they give up. And then, also some people feel funny about asking for anything because we are service members. We were meant to serve, not to ask or receive. And, these things are due to you because of the contract you have with society and with the government, right? If you get injured in the line of duty and you have these conditions that are arising that are service connected, it's something that you deserve because we should be they should be compensated injuries because you are doing that in the service of this nation, and you are doing
Absolutely.
it. That's right, to defend this Constitution, and so you really it's really important for service members not to feel that this is a handout or something else. No, it's not. It's compensation for an injury you sustained defending this nation.
Well, and you guys, I'm doing this. This is these $100,000 back pay type things. I'm getting these every 3 weeks right now. I'm getting one every 3 weeks. Huh. I might get you $5,000. I might get you $500, but depending on what your claim is. But we're getting them. We're doing it. I'm so happy for my veterans. Their lives are changed. I've got people living on Social Security that can barely make ends meet. They've got, in the case of Mr. William, he had 3 grandbabies that he had adopted, and now they can be dependents. Now we can put them on his VA benefits as dependents because he formally adopted them. That's why the grandbabies count. But, we are doing it, you guys, and I am so proud and so happy. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. He was a Vietnam-era veteran, and he said, my foot is deformed because when we were in Vietnam, there was an explosion, and we all ran for cover, and I broke my ankle or I broke my foot, and I said, to my commanding officer, my God, I hurt my foot. And they were like, people are bleeding out all over the place. Who cares about your foot? And he was like, right, let's take care of the people we need to take care of. And then all these years later, the VA says, well, we don't have any record of that. Sorry. And, well, you were in a war zone, and to this day, his foot is deformed. And those are the types of things I can fight for you. Those are the types of things that my firm can handle successfully. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of the things that happens. I always tell this story about when I came back from my first tour in Iraq, and we were sitting, and it was about 300 soldiers in this very confined space. We were shoulder to shoulder, sitting in these chairs. And so a sergeant walks in, and this was for our, re-entry after coming back from the combat field. And he says, is anyone in here crazy? Is anyone in here nuts? Just raise your hand. And a few people just raised their hand just to say to hell with it. And they would look. Everyone was looking at each other. You're sitting there in front of your command staff. You're going to go back to these units. And that was the mental health screening. And they said, if you say yes, you may have to stay here for a month, for us to process everything. And everyone wanted to get out of there, to go home. And so, that kind of interaction is just really horrific. So I'm glad that we have attorneys like you out there fighting hard for the veterans.
Absolutely. And another thing that I get from veterans is specifically in Vietnam era or Gulf era, people who come home and they say they have suicidal ideation or maybe homicidal ideation, and they talk to a civilian doctor and they say, don't ever tell anybody that. They're going to mark you as crazy, you're going to lose your job, and don't tell anybody that. That is information that you have got to tell your comp and pen examiner or your regular therapist. For a basis, obviously, of your own health. We want you to be healthy. We don't want you to have suicidal ideations. We don't want you to have homicidal ideations. We want you to be healthy, and we understand coming back from a combat zone just, might throw you off a little bit.
Yes.
But
yes.
They get that advice a lot. Don't say that to anyone. Don't tell anyone that. Yes. And that's not going to help you in the long run with the VA. So you make sure your comp and pen examiner knows about that. You make sure your comp and pen examiner knows that you self-medicate, that you drink, that you smoke marijuana, that that's the way you get through the night because you can't sleep. So many people are ashamed, and we have to take that shame off, and we have to get to the root of this. And I don't care if you smoke marijuana to sleep. I don't care if you have a history of heroin and crack, because that was how you got through a couple of years. You know, those are the things I can help you with. Those are the things I can help you put into words and make people understand that, you know, and it doesn't have to be combat. It can be a horrible experience in boot camp. Could be a sexual trauma that nobody knows about. Especially for our men. You know, our men don't want to talk about that sexual trauma, and it happened. And I don't want to say it happens now. I don't know. I don't get cases for people that are active. But my Vietnam era guys, my peacetime guys between Vietnam and Gulf, you know, it happens, and people don't want to talk about it. But we got to talk about it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, we have to, you know, take the stigma off of those things and really open them up. I'm so glad you said all that, because, you know, I've been hearing that over the years, you know, from people that, you know, they've been told not to say this, not to say that, and, you know, be careful about saying this. And, you know, and it's part of, that gets in the way of treatment, right? And I think with all the you know, this 12-step programs, the first step is, you know, acknowledging, right, that you have a problem or something is here. And this is something that people need to get past, that stigma. And so, you know, with this, you know, what would you advise to a veteran who is, you know, in this situation, and they want to, you know, contact you or go to a website to find out more about what they should be doing? And then also, can you mention, you know, you have specialists that you have as far as referrals for people to go to make sure that they're getting accurately, you know, looked at or diagnosed, I guess, in the background, to make sure that they're going down the right road and getting evaluated.
Oh, my gosh, I totally forgot to say that. I got so happy and so into our conversation.
Well, you have a lot to be happy with all your successes.
Well, I'm happy to be fighting a good fight, right? Right. You could be a lawyer out there, maybe not feeling so great about what you're doing, but I feel pretty great about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
My phone number is 414-375-1735. 414-375-1735 is the number where you can get in touch.
Yes.
We have a website that is www.tabakattorneys.com. TABAK attorneys.com. And you can jump on there and see our veterans benefits stuff. I'm going to give you the number one more time, just because I talk fast. 414-375-1735. And we will help you with your claims.
And remember the phrase, "Tabak for the payback." I love that one. So
payback for the payback. Yes, sir. That's our catchphrase. If you get lucky, maybe I'll get you a T-shirt with that on there. I got a couple T-shirts. Yeah, you know, I just as far as your question about what people should be doing, just the normal stuff, right? Like if you. The thing that people have to understand is if there's a PTSD claim or a sexual trauma claim, the VA basically has to help you. So even if you're not service connected for that, you can go to your VA and get help and treatment for those things. It's kind of a no questions asked type policy. So as far as taking away the stigma of mental health and that sort of thing, you can be treated at the VA. I really want to say, like, you know, it's 2021. We get it. Mental health is a serious thing. It's not, to me, it's as serious as a heart attack, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, please don't be embarrassed. Please don't feel like you have to put your head down. You know, I talk to many veterans who are crying on the phone when they talk to me because they don't want to have to talk about these things. And I'm trying to make it so that they don't have to talk about it. I try very hard that if we have a hearing or a review officer, that you don't have to retell your story over and over again. And actually, there are some laws and some fights going on behind the scene right now about whether veterans should actually have to tell those stories at comp and pen exams, you know? So, don't hesitate to call on the mental health stuff. Again, 414-375-1735. But, you know, like we said, all the other things too, your knees, your ankles, your shoulder, if you got a bad hip and you're walking with a cane, and 25 years into that cane, your shoulder and your elbow start going bad, that's a secondary service connection. That's something you need to look into with the VA. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to be easy. But that's secondary to your, service-connected knee or hip. So, people need to think about those things too.
Yes.
I, as an attorney, I can overcome things like homelessness. I can overcome things like if you were in jail and there's no records and the VA says, well, you were fine for 20 years and you were in jail or you were homeless or something like that happened, I can overcome that for you. So
okay, great. We're out of time right now, Monica, but we are so pleased to have you, especially as a partner, because what you're doing is really helping our veterans in insurmountable ways. I mean, there's money that's being made here on Earth for that compensation, but I'm sure you're gaining a lot of gifts up in heaven already. Treasures for what you're doing.
I hope so.
Helping.
Thank you.
And the phone number again is 414-375-1735 and www.tabakattorneys.com, and it's Tabak for the payback. Remember that.
Payback for the payback. Thank you, Dr. Arnold.
Thank you
for your service.
Oh, thank you.
You have a wonderful week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You as well.